All right, and so he had a box laying on the floor there, and I happened to be looking through it, and he said, all that stuff in that box is free. I said, free? I said, oh, yeah? I said, what's wrong with this grease gun? He said, nothing. He just doesn't need it. He's got more than he needs. I was like, okay. Free grease gun. You know, the only thing wrong with this style is it's got the straight, the rigid hose on it there, or pipe, and you can unscrew this and you can change this to a flexible tip, which is nice. But this is also the kind that just notoriously you get more grease on you than the stuff you're trying to grease over time. But I didn't even look at who made this. Didn't care. It was free. This is a Plews, P-L-E-W-S, number 30-117, TPH division, Parker Hannafin. I've heard of that name. Made in the USA. So this is a good old US-made grease gun for free. Can't beat that with a stick. Right? And then I weeded, this wasn't the actual box, this is the box he gave me to carry all my treasures in. But I weeded through the box, found this pry bar right here. This one, somebody stamped their name on it. Guess they really didn't want anybody taking their stuff. And that's looks like a Polish name if I've ever seen one. But anyways, whenever you see a Z as the second consonant, second letter is a Z after a consonant, then you're talking Eastern European for sure. Anyways, interesting pry bar. Almost like what you might want to use to maybe get just underneath the lip of a machine before you were trying to lift it to get something else underneath it. I don't know. But scored that for free. And then in the bottom of the box, I found all of these stainless steel hose clamps. One large one and a bunch of small ones there. No sense in letting those just go to the trash. And then I spotted these beryl turquoise drawing leads. And then, he started to tell me what they were, and I immediately realized, oh yeah, I know exactly what these are. They're drawing leads for mechanical pencils used in drafting. And I said, believe it or not, and I found one of those spare one here, red ones, I guess. I said, believe it or not, I'm going to take those because I have a vintage mechanical drawing pencil sharpener, the kind that clamps on the side of the drafting board that they used back in those days. And you put the pencil in and you go like that and it sharpens it. And I've actually seen those sell on eBay. So now when I go to finally sell mine on eBay, I'm going to bundle it with this because I figure, hey, if you're buying the pencil sharpener, maybe you actually have some pencils you want to sharpen. You can have the leads with it. Better to recycle them, have them just get trashed. Alright, so I go over near the door. I'm pretty much finishing my tour of this Wonderland, and I see a pallet, and on the pallet there's a bunch of stuff that's slated to go out with the scrap metal, junk. He said, I'm welcome to any of that. I was tempted to actually take a couple items there. He had these cooling units that came off of big industrial electronic controllers in that, and they consisted of like a heat exchanger with like 8-inch or 6-inch muffin fans that blow across the heat exchanger, and then the hoses must hook up and transfer fluid. Anyways, he said that they're actually perfectly good units, but he said that they're not any good to him, so he's got a scrap metal guy that comes by and takes them. I passed on those just because I got so much junk as it is. But then I spotted this box, and I noticed that he had put a sticker on it, post-it note, sell ? I guess he wasn't sure whether or not to sell this or to scrap it. And I said, oh, what's in this box? And I, tapped it with my foot. Didn't even pick it up. And he says, yeah. He says, you might be interested in that. He says, because we had already talked about how I'm old school. I got a lot of old manual machines and stuff like that. So he says, yeah. He says, oh, I didn't know what to do with that. So we ended up talking about it. I looked at it real quick, and I said, you take $20 for it? He said, sure. Now, the indexing head, the dividing head, the 75, that was pretty good. but this for 20 bucks was the deal of the day. Here you can see the Do-More name. Now there aren't too many things made by Do-More that aren't worth at least 20 bucks to buy. But this, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Do-More tool post grinder. So I don't know if this works. I don't know if it's complete. I don't know. To me, it almost seems like there should be some kind of guards on here where the belt goes, but maybe not. Maybe this is real old school. So this is a Do-More tool post grinder, catalog number 44-011. 115 volt, 7,000 RPM. Full load 7,000 RPM. No load 13,000 RPM. Goes on to explain the diameter of the wheel and the no load spindle speed. Alright, so what you've got an arbor over here, and on that arbor you're supposed to be able to put a grinding wheel like this, okay, and then somehow I think there's some components missing, but I think this goes in the T slot of your compound on your lathe, and then this will sit down on top like this, okay, and then there must be a T-bolt that's missing that must sandwich in this thing somehow. Got to get this tightening cam nut bolt out of the way. Well, anyways, this would slide down over this, and then there's got to be something that goes. That can't be right. So I think there's maybe a couple of components missing here. Okay. Oh, this must be a backing plate. These must be various backing plates for using. This looks like some other kind of a fiber cutting disc maybe that was used on this. Now the diameter of that's not right. What's that go on? Maybe that was just in the box and doesn't belong to this at all. There's also a second pulley here. So it's evident to me that you're supposed to be able to change this pulley size maybe on the motor over here and get different spindle speeds. That must be what this chart's for. Doesn't really explain how you go about doing it though. Wait a minute, no. It's all right there. Okay, so what we've got is apparently there were 5 pulleys that were either that came with this or were available with this, because the chart explains for the top speed, the no load speed of 38,500 RPM. Holy crap, that's cooking. You put a number 1 pulley on the spindle and you put a number 5 pulley on the motor. So these pulleys must be marked somewhere. Yeah, that's a number 5. And the only other ones I've got are on here already. That one either is marked on the other side or is so dirty I can't see it. That's a number 3. So I got a 3, a 5. And since that size is between these two, I'm thinking that's a 3, that's a 4, and this is a 5. Boy, the 1 and 2 must be really small. So depending on the diameter of the wheel you want to put on this thing, that's how you determine what size pulley you're going to put on there. So I'm just going to stick this on here like this, just to keep this up off of the table, off the workbench. And oh, we got the cancer of the cloth sheathing on the cord. It's to be expected with something this early. But you know what? I see these old tool post grinders still being used. So basically this turns your lathe into a budget cylindrical grinder, I guess, for ID and OD. Now, some of the models I've seen, they actually have the they have something on this end that allows you to actually, I think, do ID grinding. In other words, you would have like an arbor or a chuck over here that you could actually, or with a collet that you could actually put in a stone with a shank on it. So I guess you can't do that with this one. Okay, I'm gonna throw some safety glasses on because oh, the heck with the safety glasses. I'm gonna go with the full face shield. I probably also should, yeah, hearing protection. I'm feeling this thing's loud. If it works, it's probably loud. I just wanted to see if most of that noise was just from the vibration on the bench, and it is. So, I don't hear any really bad bearing noise or anything in this thing. So, pretty cool. I could probably look that up online and find a complete setup and see what's missing. And then probably find out that I bet you any one of those pulleys is going to cost me more than what I paid for the whole thing. But that was the other big score. This is the kind of thing that I always thought, oh, eventually I wouldn't mind having one of those. But it always seemed like whenever they came up for sale, to me, they seemed vastly overpriced for what they are. But I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts. But I was not so nuts that I wouldn't pass this up for 20 bucks. So then I was packing everything up and walking out after paying him and bringing stuff to my truck, and outside his door there was a couple of boxes, and this box was sitting there, and I saw this and I said, oh, so that's a nice oil can. He said, yeah. He said, actually that's free stuff too that's going out. So really, so I said, oh, all right. So I took a look and I scored this oil can. Okay, this is a high grade metalware Barron's galvanized measure flex spout, 1 quart, made of recyclable materials. And this is made in, can't quite make it out, but it's made in Minnesota, US made. So the oil in there looks pretty clean. Anyways, another freebie was this little tiny oil can right here. It doesn't appear, it's got some rust on it, but it doesn't appear to have any holes in it. And actually doesn't look like it's had oil in it in a while, but it looks okay on the inside. So anyways, might be a handy little oiler. Couldn't find any markings or name on it anywhere. And then this box is just filled with bags of this style of shelf clip, which I actually think I have some shelving that uses this style of clip. So I might be able to use a few of these, and the rest of them I can either scrap them or maybe find somebody else who can use them. And then that was all I got that day, and then the following week I was in the area again, and I stopped in to see him to see whether or not he had had a chance to make contact with the guy who had bought the lathe, who might have had the other piece. And I talked to him about a few other pieces I had looked at that he wanted to do a little more research on to get pricing information on. So there's a couple of the items there that I'm still interested in. I still haven't been able to close a deal on, but one of the items that he passed on my offer the week before and then accepted my offer, I'll show you now. So initially when I was there, I had seen these blocks right here, and I couldn't find any markings on them, so I had thought maybe that they were shop made. They look like they're cast iron, and they've been polished, ground, and they're 2 4/6 blocks, 2 inch by 4 inch by 6 blocks, which I thought was kind of neat. And they've got through holes and threaded holes. So I thought, well, those might be handy to have. So not really knowing what these were worth and thinking that they were shop made anyways, and because of all these other things here, he didn't seem to have much care about. I offered him $10 for these, and he passed on it. And then he explained to me that they had actually bought these new, and I think he went and looked it up and found that they had paid like $80 for these from whoever they had bought them from. So I passed on him that day, and then when I went back a week later, popped in to see him, I went back over and I asked about some of the other stuff I was interested in. He still hadn't had a chance to research that. Stuff was still sitting there, so nobody had bought it. And then I saw these sitting there, and then I don't know if I looked at this and just discounted it initially because it was it says right here made in Taiwan, or for whatever reason I kind of passed over this. This is a number 3 Morse taper 7-point live center set. What this is it's a number 3 Morse taper live center. Okay, but it comes with this kit of all these different points you can put in there, which is kind of neat, especially like that one. So this apparently is a screwdriver. So that might be handy to have, but being that it's made Taiwan piece, I know it wasn't very expensive when it was new. So I said, how about $30? Figuring that I was upping my offer on these blocks to $20 and this $10, and he went for that. So I'm happy with that. Oops. Anyways, so that'll come in handy. So I might end up going back there again. I'm hoping that he's going to contact me and let me know that he was able to get that tailstock for the dividing head, and maybe when I go back there I'll be able to pick up a couple of the other items. He had a Starrett Precision level, an 8-inch one. I've got enough Starrett levels now, but I don't think I have an 8-inch. I think I've got a 6. I've got a really small one, then I've got the big ones, the 18, and I've got my Pratt & Whitney. And that level looked brand new, which is part of the reason why he didn't want to just give that away, because they had bought that and barely used it. And also there was a couple of Fowler dial calipers. One was a regular like 12-inch, but one was a 24-inch in the wood case, looked brand new, but he wanted $175 for that, and I wasn't going to pay that much for it. I think I had offered him, in a bundle, I had offered him $75 for it, but that wasn't going to fly. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. There was, I almost forgot. He also threw in these, because he had a whole bunch of these indicator stand clamps and that. Here's a fine adjustment arm. And since he didn't have any more indicators, he had no use for them, so he was more than happy to throw these in. These say MHC on them. I'm not familiar with that, but never hurts to have a couple extra of these laying around. All right, till next time.